Awesome.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And today's session is how to start and grow your Salesforce consulting business by Shiv Devinarayanan. Hope I said your name correct.
That was, yeah, that was on point. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. So a little bit about Impact Force series. The Impact Force series session started a few months ago with focus on improving soft skills. And the mission of the Impact Force is to inspire, grow, and learn from each other. And here are a couple of sessions that were conducted before. You can find some sessions on networking and building your own brand and how to be ready for the interviews, how to create your resumes that stand out, and also perseverance, and so many other topics. You can find all these recordings in the YouTube channel, Trailblazing Together. And here's a quick recap of all the sessions that were done in the first quarter of this year. We have one more session coming up by Leandria. There is so much planned for the next quarter as well. And I request you to share your feedback and all your key takeaways from this session on social to inspire and motivate others as well. Please use these hashtags. These are the Twitter hashtags. Please use these and share your feedback and key takeaways. And we also have an announcement for swag. We have a Salesforce certification voucher, and that could be given to someone who can share their key takeaways. The best post will get will get to be picked. And today's session is by Shiv. A little intro about Shiv. He is a Salesforce MVP, Hall of Famer, and he is the youngest entrepreneurs in the Salesforce world when he started. And he believes in the power of relationships and an ever-growing Rolodex. He's the founder and CEO of Dazeworks, which has been the culmination of a great idea that developed in reality with a great team, strong expertise, and the passion to succeed. From his experience building the Dazeworks from 9 locations across the globe, I'm sure Shiv is going to share many best practices to follow and some of the mistakes that we can avoid. With that, I will turn it over to you, Shiv. I'm going to stop this.
Wonderful.
Screen share here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jyotsna. And, first of all, before I started, we were just catching up. So one of the key things, and I've been talking at a lot of, user groups, and especially during COVID, that was thinning out. And I'm so very happy that Impact Force is doing so well. And there's so many people joining in. And it's, it's a very important piece of, having that glue in the community. So great job. Kudos to Jyotsna and team for keeping this going and bringing a lot of different kind of topics into the fray. So thank you again. So I'll start sharing the screen. Oh, Jyotsna, I think you need to give me the share access. Oh, you're on mute.
You should be good now, Shiv.
All right, perfect. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
It's all good.
Perfect. So just to give a little bit of background, I started out as a developer in .NET, and as well as, within a month or so, I was able to get on to a small Salesforce project, and that was the first step of my career. This was way back, I think in 2007, 2008. So it was a crazy journey. And what I want to do today is share some of the key points and key takeaways that I've looked at from a retrospective. So I want to keep this completely super open, make sure that, it's not just a broadcast, but people get to ask questions, and that's where I think true value is, and hopefully I'll get to learn something as well during the course. So let me go to my favorite slide. Once you guys can see it, this is my favorite slide. This talks all about me, right? So I am a 6-time Salesforce MVP and currently a MVP Hall of Famer. And I have, community is actually the core of what I do, and it's part of my DNA. I was started out founding the developer group in Kerala, which is in Kochi, India, and I got also a lot of chances to meet up with fellow Salesforce enthusiasts, as well as got opportunities to talk at Dreamforce. And we also started a very community-focused event called India Dreamin'. Not sure if a lot of you have heard it, but we did India Dreamin' for 2 years in succession. Of course, after COVID, we couldn't. Hopefully, we're trying to bring that back as well. But India Dreamin' was the largest community-led Salesforce event in the world. We had somewhere close to 2,000 attendees last time, and we had everybody from everywhere flying in, and it was just a great joy. So a lot of good experiences. The reason I wanted to come back on this is basically, the way my journey has gone, as well as the way I was able to start a company and meet so many people, is because community is at the heart of everything that I do. And I'll try to give a little bit of background on that as well. So just to give you a little bit more, details and highlights of my journey. As I mentioned, it started out as a C# developer, wanted to work with some large projects. At that time, there was nobody who was working on Salesforce, especially in the companies that I was part of. So it was just given to me because I was the rookie, and they wanted to, like, yeah, here you go, figure this out, and make it work, right? And since I started out with C# and .NET, when I came to Salesforce, it was so easy to do things. And me being a lazy guy, I loved the platform. I was like, yeah, I could just get all the stuff done in like just a couple of minutes instead of rebuilding the code and deploying the server and all that kind of stuff. So, fell in love with the platform from day one. Started a couple of user groups along the way. At that time in India, there were not a lot of user groups. I think when I started, there were just 3. And we basically helped groom the next generation of user groups and developer groups. And I think now it's a crazy number. I think it's 200 or 300 user groups across India. And along the way as well, because of the exposure that I got through being an MVP, being in the community, being on the Answers Forum, apart from the job, I got a lot of great exposure to, the amazing minds out there in the Salesforce ecosystem, learning with them, learning along with them, which helped me get, architect position at Groupon. I think I was 22 or so. I was the youngest architect at Groupon. We did the City Deals merger, where the org was, I think, the 4th largest org at that time in the Salesforce, pod, and we basically merged these 2 orgs. So that was a great in-depth technical background that I got, as well as right after Groupon is when I got the opportunity to start Dazeworks, and that's where the story begins. We had, I had a lot of good people around me, and that's one of the key things I wanted to bring about that. And we were just talking about that just before the conversation started. Surrounding yourself with great people is the key important piece of you being successful, right? And sometimes you get that in the form of a mentor. It could be somebody from the user group, could be somebody from the community, but try to surround yourself with amazing people that are smarter than you, are happier and energetic than you, so that will rub off on you as well, and you get to evolve every single time. And I was such a kind of person. I was not able to do a public speaking engagement, or not even talk to a group of 5-6 people together. I was such an introvert and so shy, and Salesforce community was the core reason why I was able to evolve and then be part of such great companies and have my own company as well. So after Groupon, I started Dazeworks. We had amazing response and help from the community. When I started Dazeworks, just me, and I didn't know where to look for business. So I made a couple of posts on the community saying, hey, I started this company. Can somebody help? Because I don't know what to do. Luckily for me, there were amazing people in the MVP community and the extended community as well, who took the time out of their day to come sit down with me, have virtual meetings, just talk about, hey, can you think about this, and how do you plan on making the business happen? Let me give you some of my business, right? And there were so many great conversations. It was unbelievable. Like everybody started stepping up, and they didn't have to do that, right? And that's why I love this community. It's a very selfless, and at the core, it's all about giving back, right? Everybody here gives some of their time, energy, and effort back into the community as well. And I'm sure, a lot of people thought that was a very small investment of their time, and they're just trying to be helpful. But those were defining moments for me to, attempt something this crazy and honestly, something that's very scary. So I got, I think, just to give a shout out, I had a lot of help from Joshua, Denise Carbone, Eric Dreshfield, who are some of the MVPs out there, who spend time with me to make sure that I understand what I'm getting myself into. And Denise actually brought in my very first customer, Sharif Flan, Phil Walton. They became my customers as well. So day 2, I had 3 customers with almost a year in contract to start up. So I started hiring immediately, and we started scaling crazy. So we currently are close to 150 Salesforce developers spread across 9 different global offices. We are a pure play Salesforce.com consulting company. We've worked with big and small firms. Salesforce themselves are my customers as well. It's been a crazy journey, and in no point, it's not a single person's journey. I have amazing team members with me who, challenge me at every single point of where I was looking at, oh, this is a great idea, I should probably do it. But they were like, hey, why don't we think about this? And always, the rule that we have within the team is it's okay to have disagreements and have fights even. That's not a problem. But once we get into the room, we fight it out. But when we leave the room, it doesn't matter whose idea it is, but we all should agree on one single idea, and that's been really working out for us. And it's at the core, it's all for making sure that our team and our customers and partners always take a step forward and not a step back. So it's been really well to see how our company is growing. Especially, we've kept a couple of close tabs in how we recruit people, and also we try to make sure that we try to hire a lot from the community, because they know what our values are and how the company is built and the DNA. So we always try to come back to the community to look for amazing people, amazing talented people who are not just great at their job, but love sharing that knowledge within as well as outside the company, into the community as well. So that's, I would say, probably a secret sauce. I'm sure there are a lot of companies doing the same, and you'll notice that they're all very successful companies. Because I've heard stories when I first started, there were a lot of companies who were very apprehensive and did not even let their team members go to the user group meetings, afraid of being poached. And I feel it was kind of funny to me, but we went the opposite way, and trust me, that's the best choice that you make. This is probably the second time that I'm actually doing this topic. The first time was at Bulgaria User Group, I think 2 years ago, and since then a lot has changed. Last Wednesday, we just announced our merger with a company called iLink, which is another piece or milestone that we were looking at. So we just made the official announcement of being part of the iLink digital family. They're a CMMI level 3 company, and they're much larger and they have great vision. One of the core things that we were looking at is to make sure that our value, the way of how we do business, how we look at our team members, our growth and passion, those all match. This was a conversation that's been going on for probably a year and a half now. And we were very, very deliberate to make sure that the core of what we built is not destructive. And I've seen a lot of horror stories that's happened even with our industry as well. They were very flexible, and they understand the entrepreneur's drive. So it's almost like adding a partner to work with you, and that was very critical for me as well. So this is another milestone, apart from all the customers that we work with, hitting platinum. I think we're the fastest company to platinum in the APAC region. And this was the ideal evolution for us. The reason I'm sharing this is because first of all, honestly, when I started Dazeworks, I never thought I was going to be bringing in another company or merging or selling. But as time passed by, I also understood that to go to the next level, which is for the team as well, this is an important step, right? And we could probably do this in the next 5-10 years, but this is all about making that journey much faster, as well as also an opportunity to learn from the industry titans on how they do things. And they've got 20 years of experience running such a consulting company, and they've acquired 10 different other companies as well. So the key point for that, what I want to bring back is sometimes when you're at the helm of things and you are taking all the shots, it might get complacent to say, yeah, I know what's best for the company. And trust me, I have been in that position. And if you have good people around you, they will definitely give you a reality check. And this is actually one of those steps where we never thought, oh, we don't have to sell. We're doing good. We're scaling. We're doing all the amazing stuff that we want. But if you look at the largest team and the kind of impact that we could actually bring through this kind of a partnership, it was a sobering thought, So this is the next cycle step for me of not just hoarding the baby, but making sure that we get to partner up with amazing people so that the company, the organization, the people, and customers and partners who are all associated with us can also evolve together. So that's one of the pieces, and I'm sure there are a lot of entrepreneurs who look at this as one of the big milestones as well. And that's the reason I included this as part of today's conversation, which is the difference between last time I spoke at Bulgaria versus Impact Force today, right? Enough about all the marketing stuff, but I want to talk about something more personal. The core reason of why we were able to scale and why we were able to just keep going and find these amazing people is because at the heart, when I started, I love working with Salesforce. I love solving business challenges. Even today, the most exciting part for me is when I join a call for the very first time with a customer, understand what problem they're facing, and coming up with a solution to tackle that, right? And that's the most exciting part. I try to make sure that I join every customer call or prospect call because that's the piece that I enjoy. And as being part of leadership, the vision, you're always going to handle multiple things, and there will be very less time for you to do things that you love, but it's very important for you to find time to do things that you love. So if it's purely transactional, I'm sure there are people who've done things that are purely financial, pure transactional, but probably for my my character, my personality, I wouldn't be able to keep doing things that I don't love to do. So it's almost like a cheat day. So making sure that a piece of or part of the day is always reserved for things that I love to do in relation with the business and with the organization as well, which keeps me excited, right? Because the other aspect as well, and again, this might vary for the people out there as well. I try to make sure that at any point, if something's gonna fail or somebody's not able to do it, I always feel that I should always be the safety net, the last point of failure to step in. So be it accounting, be it networks, be it solution design, or even coding, right? I try to make sure that I'm up to date, and I can step in and help as much as possible if it comes to a grinding halt. Luckily, I didn't have to do a lot of those along the journey, but that gave me a different sense of confidence, because I know that if anything does fail, or if somebody says, "Hey, Shiv, I don't think we can do this," um, there's always the option for me to step in and try to give it a shot and see if it can be done or cannot be done. The reason why that piece is very important, at least from my perspective, is that most of the times, at least when you start your business, um, you get the customer to work with you because of who you are or who your team member is, and the trust is built on that. Especially in my case, when I first started Dazeworks, of course, nobody knew it, but there were a lot of people who trusted me, and the work was given to us because they knew me and they trusted me. So always being, the last line of defense to make sure, you give it everything you've got to the project, to the problem. It doesn't just have to be a customer problem. It could be an HR problem, or it could be an infrastructure problem, right? Making sure that you are able to step in is also a very, very powerful, potent leadership move. For me, it works well because I'm able to always have great conversations, and it's not just a micromanagement conversation where you come in and say, "Oh, what are you doing today? Oh, why didn't you do it this way?" Right? It's more of it's more of a conversation. It's more of a dialogue. How do we solve this? Have you tried this? And have you tried that? Instead of why have you not done this, right? So I think that has been really key for the way I work and the way my leadership works as well. And it keeps it exciting, right? You find new things that you're starting to like. And it's all about making sure that you keep doing what you love, because there's a famous saying, I'm pretty sure most of you have heard this, if you work, if you keep doing what you love, you never work a day, right? So it's really true. And some of the days, I never see time slip by. It's almost like it's 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and I'm completely fully energized, and it's not very healthy, but still, as an entrepreneur, you're always going to be on your toes, and the buck stops with you. So that's the key piece. So if you love what you do, you will not see it as a burden, right? And apart from all the fancy names that we worked with, the most excited I got was when we worked with a potato farmer in the UK. So we implemented Salesforce for a one-person org, who's an older gentleman who was finding it tough to manage, the crops, the data, the finance, who he distributes to, and I don't think in a million years I would have thought a potato farmer would need Salesforce. So it was a very interesting journey, and that's the piece that always reminds me. It's not about the logo, or it's not about the size of the deal. It's about the impact that you create, right? So we actually even had a conversation just before the announcement as well. I spoke to him, and he was still like, "Yeah, I still use your app today." And he was so excited to show me all that. And he's just a single person managing his farms, and selling potatoes. So it's crazy, but it's some of those things that always reminds you why you are in it, right? And that's very important to me, and I love it. And a couple of things I wanted to bring back in. And again, guys, stop me at any point in time. I'm going to be talking about some of the key things that I think would be nice to share, but I might be missing something. Would love to hear from y'all, and see if we can, make this more interactive. So at any point in time, just jump in, open your mic, and I'd love to have a conversation. But I'm going to keep going, and would love to hear more from you. But one of the things that I got an early reminder about is building a sustainable consulting business. And yes, it sounds very obvious, right? But least in my case, when we started out, we were very lucky to have 3 customers. We had a team that's growing, and we're very, very particular about bringing in the right people into the right environment. So, I spent a lot on getting a very nice office, making sure that we travel to all the events and all that crazy stuff, which is amazing. But um, the first reality check came in when we had one of our largest customers, um, you know, who got sold, and the new company did not want to do business with vendors. They wanted to do everything in-house. And that was the first reality check. And we want to make sure that, luckily, again, this is a word that you're going to hear a lot, which is, you know, apart from talent, apart from surrounding yourself with the right people, I do really believe there's a great factor in time and luck. Um, and because sometimes you expect, you do everything right and still things go wrong, but without you doing anything, or without just you imagining, sometimes a miracle happens. Sometimes you get connected with the right person, or a lead comes into your website, which will definitely save the day. And there were times in our initial days which there were a lot of times where it just played that factor to keep us afloat. And those are learnings what came through to make sure that there was a driving factor to building something sustainable. When I mean sustainable, it's very simple. You spend less than what your income is, right? It sounds easy, but I'll give you an example of where I slipped up, to be honest, which is you will have sometimes all your customers paying a net 60, net 30. It's like the moment you raise the invoice, they pay you 30 days or 60 days later, right? Which is normal. And we were having the rolling cash flow. It's all great, but sometimes when you don't have enough buffer, a customer might come back and say, oh, looks like that code that you guys worked on the other day, looks like there's a lot of bugs, so we gotta make sure that it's reworked, and we cannot pay for that, right? So what happens? You have to give back a credit on the work that you did, so your cash flow dips. Or suddenly, we've had this as well. 2 years ago, one of our customers who owed us close to $200,000 just went bankrupt and stopped picking up our calls. And we were shocked to see that that could happen, because till that time everything was great. The customer was paying really well, they were scaling with us. And we later found out that there was a partner who embezzled money and just left, and we were not ready for it, right? So those were learnings that we took to make sure that we build a buffer. We make sure there's a budget spent properly, and um, also worry about making sure what happens if our largest customer leaves us, right? That's the question that we keep asking all the time, and that has helped build a lot more sustainability. And also the same thing goes for the talent side, which is not a lot of things that people think of initially, because you're a team of 5, so it's all okay, everybody knows each other, right? When we were even at the size of 20, if we hired 2 people, that's 10% of our workforce. And we were like, great, yeah, it's all good. We're under the model where your benchmark of retention or attrition. That was all great, but as the team scales, one of the things that we also found out is that people just get offered large, outrageous sums of money, and they might choose to leave, or they feel like there's other options that they want to pursue. And sometimes it's your top, teammate, or somebody from the leadership. And initially I never prepared for it, because I was like, why do people want to leave? Because we pay top dollar. There's all these options. They work on great stuff. So why would they leave, right? But they will, and that's the hard reality, especially in the Salesforce ecosystem, because the demand's crazy, and people, are good people are very hard to find. So If you grow your team with all the love, the passion, expect them to also have great offers and opportunities that you might not be able to offer at your size. So that was also another hard truth. So always, one of the things I learned. Oh, I think Gautam has a question. Gautam, do you want to go ask the question first? I think you're on mute.
Uh, we can take the questions at the end, Shiv. Please go ahead.
Sure, no worries. So yeah, so one of the things that we try to do, and something that I had to learn as well, is generally I'm a very optimistic guy, and I'm always like, oh, there's going to be, oh, everything's going to go great. Things are going to be always good, and that's a very, very important trait of being a CEO or a founder or a businessman for that perspective. But there is an untold side that is also equally important, which is, you always have to think of what could go wrong and how you can fix it. That's your job. That's the only job you got to do as a CEO. Entire time, just look at every option and see, okay, how can this go wrong? And how do I preemptively fix that, right? That's going to be your key job, be it people, be it projects, be it, maybe the IRS, maybe, the other statutory stuff, whatever it could be, right? There are so many different things that could go wrong, and some of them will go wrong. So always trying to think of what could go wrong and try to fix it before will always give you that edge. Now, having said that, don't let that affect you, right? And don't let it go to where, oh no, there are 100 things that could go wrong. What am I going to do? Never let it affect you. It's more of a thought experiment, right? It's more of thinking of the different possibilities of how it could fail, be it even a partnership, right? You got to always think, because the success part of it is very easy to define. You can easily define, oh, what's the best case scenario of when you start a company? Yeah, it's going to go great. I'm going to make millions of dollars. That's easy to imagine, right? But the hard piece is, and the thing that's less talked about, is how it could fail, right? And trust me, that's the piece that you're going to be that's the piece that you're going to be struggling with or hustling with every single day. And that's part of the job, right? That's the risk versus reward. It doesn't mean that you're going to be miserable. It's just, as part of your job, it's always trying to defend what you're building. And that's a key piece of building a sustainable business, is to figure out how you can mitigate those challenges that might come in. And even if you do that constantly, you will still miss some things, right? And that's why you will need to have strong team around you, strong people, be it advisors, be it team members, be it family, right? In my company, the first couple of people who joined my company were my dad and my sister. And I've heard a lot of times where people say, hey, don't bring family into business, it's always going to go wrong. And it's not true. And I was very adamant on proving others wrong, because these are people that I trusted implicitly, and trust is also something that comes by very, very less. So having them by my side, knowing that there's a safety net, is always amazing. And they're amazing, talented people who are there in the company still today, and have done amazing stuff. Without them, I think it would be very difficult for me to scale this. And I have other partners as well, but we all work equally. So there's no special treatment, and that's something I told them from day one, and we still maintain that. But that's also very important. As I mentioned, defining failures are important as well. So it's very critical, because other people who join the company might feel intimidated to talk to, let's say, your family, from the fear of being snuffed out, right? So make that clear. Make sure that that line of business versus personal is very, very solid, and it's very transparent to other people that it is solid, right? So just a tidbit there. But other parts of what I would call as building sustainable business, especially in the consulting side, is knowledge is the key piece, the first piece at least that I want to talk about, um, because everybody has their own weaknesses, biases, right? So always have people who will be a compliment to you, and also knows how to build the next layer. That is one of the pieces that um, I did not focus on initially, and luckily we did start doing it. And trust me, that's a great relief to have that as well, which is it's always great to have you be on the top, but build a business wherein if you walk away, or if something happens to you, or if you want to take a break, there's always that second layer to take care of everything. And there's nobody that's gonna suffer because of that. So one of the key ways that you can do that is by enabling everybody with knowledge. It's just not technical knowledge alone, which is very important, especially in this business, but techno-commercial, right? So all of my CXOs are techno-commercial. What I mean by that is they know how the technology works. Most of them are architects or senior developers within the company before, and have stepped into the CXO role. But the other key piece is also understanding the business. And especially, I think it's very valid in the Impact Force series, which is apart from being a great technical person, today, even at the Salesforce side, um, how you bring together that technology with business is the key piece. So if you are unable to do that, that is going to put a serious dent in how your um, career basically scales up. And especially if you want to start a business, you have to be able to put those two together. The way you do that is again through knowledge. How do you, go learn how different businesses work, how you could probably help them out from a Salesforce perspective. And the key other piece, what I use to learn about businesses is I imagine myself as the CEO of their business, and I'm taking over tomorrow, right? So what do I need to know, right? And ask questions, trying to hash out every aspect of the business as much as possible. Even though you might be just working with sales, you need to know the whole picture, right? So always put yourself empathetically in the CEO's position. Imagine you're taking over that company. What do you need to know, right? That usually helps in understanding the lay of the land with the business. And as you always, keep yourself sharp with the technical side, you will see that you are able to bring those two worlds together, right? You will ask questions that can, have a technical solution in the back end. So you'll start marrying those two together very quickly. But that's a key piece of you evolving into either a very senior decision-making position, or especially if you start a company, right? And because that's a key piece that's not very readily available today, and also that's the key piece that's going to be important when you try to convert sales. Apart from that, one of the key things from day one we wanted to focus on, and the reason I started Dazeworks actually was because of the core value that we didn't want to focus on the transaction, but focus on the transformation, right? Every relationship counts, be it with your employees, be it with your vendors, be it with your customers, be it with your partners. It's very important. So if you look at every relationship purely from a transactional perspective, purely from a financial perspective, you're going to start getting the same from them. It's just transactions, right? So everybody's disposable, everybody's replaceable, and that becomes, then you become replaceable, and you become transactional as well. So that's something that we very focused on initially when we started as well, and continues to be part of our DNA today. It's not an easy thing to do, because sometimes you would have to take a hit on your transaction for the relationship, and it's easier once you get to a specific point and milestone. But initially, it is tough. But trust me, it will come back and help you a lot. Because if you focus on the transaction alone, it's going to be tough because you will make mistakes. You will slip up as well. So if that comfort is not there with your employees, partners, vendors, customers, um, that's just gonna hit the relationship very, very badly, very quickly, right? And the other piece is we were trying to make sure that every project has a single way of execution. There's this general thing of templating everything, but don't assume, right? Every project, even though it looks similar, can be different. And it's not just a technical piece again, right? Most of you might have experienced this as well. If you've worked with multiple customers on a similar use case, sometimes it doesn't have the same outcome because the people are different. And always consider that. Always consider the people that you're dealing with, how the cultural fit is, how's the technical fit. Evaluate that first. Again, when I mentioned that it's not just, again, customers, the whole different personas part of the project, right? So make sure that you consider that, because the last thing you want to do is assume something's going to go right and it doesn't, right? So give every project its own importance and gravity, and that will help. And the next point that I want to talk about, sell outcomes and not your services, is also something that we found out, and I'm sure it's very obvious when you say it, but there are a lot of times when you're always going to go and talk about, oh, we do Salesforce consulting, we do lighting migration, oh, we're just $100 an hour or $50 an hour. You end up going to what I call features, right? And not about the value, right? If you just talk about you do lightning services or you build community, you're probably the best at it, and you lock in a price per hour or whatever it is, there are going to be hundreds of other people who can easily compete with you on those features. But if you sell values, right? What do you believe in? Why your team is the best, right? And how this partnership can be very useful, not just to the customer, but for you as well, and build that value-based relationship. That's something that's going to be very, very unique to yourself. And that's something we learned along the way as well. And it's a key piece of establishing the relationship, because you are not selling to businesses. You are having conversations, decisions with people. And if you don't value your business like how it really needs to be positioned, and you sell features, that's what other people are going to look at as well. So make sure that you uh, focus on your values, define those internally, externally. That's going to be very, very core. And Salesforce does a really good job of that as well. So I've worked with a lot of AEs, and the messaging is very, very consistent. They're never going to talk about, oh, Microsoft does this, and we also do that, right? That feature to feature comparison is something that Salesforce does not believe in, because that is a slippery slope. You get compared into a corner, and they might have something more than what you have, but the true value of the transformation is never conveyed if you just go feature to feature. Same thing applies on services. And the ABC. This is more of a sales kind of an angle, because that's what I do. I was a developer, but as a CEO, you're the best salesperson in the team. So when people think about sales, they think about, oh, it's just about setting the contract, or just the opportunities, quote unquote. But honestly, everything that you do, even in your personal life or in the business life, everything is a sale. Example, right now, I'm selling you this idea or the philosophy of how I think the business, has succeeded, and how you could have a starting point, right? The way you guys, if you go for an interview, you are selling your experience and how you can add value. Every point, even a conversation with your friend, is a sale. So when it comes into business, one of the things, again, initially when I started out, I was a very, very conservative, very introvert person. So it was very tough for me to ask for the sale. It was very tough for me to close, because I always feel that there could be something better that I could do. And there's always, there's more that you can get, or there are better people that you can work with. And over time, I realized that it's all about, if I'm happy that I can bring a good amount of change, and if I can bring a value to the customer engagement, or team engagement, or even a vendor engagement, that's important. And because of that, you need to always be closing, right? So any conversation, don't leave it open, because that is going to set a lot of vagueness. It's going to be up in the air, and there are some times where people get choice paralysis. So um, if you believe in something and you're sure about it, and if you say, yes, I think we should work on it, be closing. Good to say, yes, let's work on this. I'm going to set up some time tomorrow at that time. I'm sure all of you all know about the closing aspect of it. But also, the flip side is, if you think it's not going to work, be open about it, be closing, right? Say that, hey, I don't think we're a good fit for now, but we could probably look at something later, right? And that's important too, because that's the piece that I had to learn as well after a couple of years, is that I thought, yeah, we got to go after every project. It's that's great. More number of projects we do, it's a linear graph of growth. It's not true. There are projects that will drive you crazy because you're not a good fit, right? Not because, maybe not because of technicalities, but it could be because the way the other organization thinks, the culture that they have would not be a good fit for your culture. And trust me, that is probably the worst thing you could do, because if two teams don't think or don't have the same frequencies, you end up just hurting both, and the customer will have a bad taste, your team's going to have a low morale, and it's going to be just a mess, and that's going to eat up 80% of your time, and in turn, your other customers and partners also suffer. So if you have a gut feeling that this is not the right thing to do, follow the gut. It will always, you'll thank yourself a lot of times. And also, give away your time. I believe that, again, time is what we sell as services company. Uh, don't sell your effort. Don't look at how you know don't, I wouldn't say don't do a project for free. We have done that. Again, from a transformational perspective, if you feel that we want to show that we're interested and put some skin in the game, well, I've done that as well. So from but the core piece of it is that don't let people take your time for granted, right? Don't think that they can just call you up and just have that being taken for granted, because that's gonna never have the respect in the relationship. So make sure that it doesn't happen as well. The reason, again, these are all from my experiences. um, Sometimes, again, even in the community, most of y'all probably would face it. Sometimes people just come ask for a lot of questions. It's all great, but sometimes there's like, oh, why don't you help me solve this code, or why don't you help this? Yeah, then it becomes a pattern. So make sure that you're able to distinguish from you helping somebody versus they taking advantage of you, right? So that's a key thing as well, right? Um, I'll go over some of this as well, because we've discussed aspects of this. But I always believe in a flat hierarchy, because especially the team that I have in India, um, there's this history of like, yeah, you always have to, whatever your senior says, it's always right, and you gotta, blindly follow that, and that aspect of consulting is diminishing, right? That's no longer the case. Last week we had a town hall where we were discussing some amazing stuff, and that my younger team was doing, and they're exploring so many amazing things that I couldn't even imagine, and I couldn't be going in and saying, no, 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 that's not the way. You should follow the old Visual Force way, or whatever it was, right? So there's always opportunities to learn, and also um, the other aspect of at least from our business, like, you will be investing a lot in team members who are starting out, but it's very tough where if you're just going to say, oh, here's my junior team and they're going to take care of everything. That's not going to be a good sale. So make sure that you empower your team. One of the things that I do is I keep it super transparent with my customers, my partners. If there is a junior member part of the team, I tell them, hey, take an interview, see if they're a good technical fit. And if they're not, great, but nothing slides under the desk. But make sure that, if your customers are paying for the full, if they're paying the full rate, full price, give them what they're buying, right? So there are a lot of, the reason I put this point in is because I've seen a lot of companies who don't follow this rule, and it's more of like a pet peeve rather than just an advice. But it comes back to trust, right? You have one slip up on trust, it's like a glass. Once it breaks, no matter what you do, it's not going to go back and look the same. So make sure that the trust aspect of it is maintained. And this is one of the cases where, especially in consulting, a lot of people just put one senior resource who's masked, and everything is done by junior resources. Hopefully, I'm not shocking a lot of people if you didn't know this before, but that does happen in the industry, and I think it's time we are very open. It's okay, you can definitely put in junior resource, but just be open about it, right? So apart from that, one of the things also that has helped me really well is coming back to some of the defining the failure aspects, is what is the worst that could happen, right? When you are making a decision, consider the failure points, and that will actually give you um, a lot of insight in how you want to prepare for it. And apart from that, when you're building something, look at what is the easiest way you could get there, right? That's probably more, reflecting my character, because I'm a very lazy person, and I want to try to find the fastest way to get to the best solution. So that's also something that I always try to emulate and make sure that we're looking at the both sides of the aisle, right? Some of the misconceptions of starting the company. Some people think success happens overnight. Trust me, it doesn't. You will definitely have to hustle, and it's a good thing, right? Because you're working for yourself, and you're going to be, it's very satisfying. I'm sure it's not for everybody, right? If you want to have the security as well as less of the, if you have an less risk appetite, plan this before you step in, because success is not overnight in any business, and especially this, because the people business, there are a ton of people that you need to manage. So you always want to make sure that you account for that, right? Sometimes, as I mentioned, again, this is just summary. When you see a lot of growth and consistency, don't get complacent, right? If you always look at what could fail and make sure you plan for that and aim higher as well. If you have a predictability, that's always going to keep you flowing. Sometimes, and again, this is just my experience. Some people just want to stay at the same level and same revenue growth. Kudos to that. But I look at this more differently, is that I want to make sure that I give it everything. So it's always consistent growth, as well as innovating, right? It doesn't just have to reflect back to numbers. But yeah, if you think that others will have the answers of the questions that you have, it's going to be tough. It's not always true, because nobody will know the intricacies of your business as good as you do. So definitely consult with others, but rely on yourself to get the answer. So never let that hope down. Always know that you will find the answer. It might take some time, but you will figure it out, right? You will have good people around you who can advise you, and reading definitely helps as well. But you will find the answer. So don't give up hope. Make sure that you rely on yourself to find the answer from inputs from others as well, right? And one eye on the goal. Make sure you're always focused on that, because if you can imagine the scale of what you want to do, or at least the fulfillment that you want to get out of this, you will get there. So keep an eye on that as well. Um, I want to go through some of this as well from my perspective. Um, the reason, as I mentioned, why we started Dazeworks and the key components is, I would say, the Ohana, the community basically was a core part of it, even till today. I get a lot of advice. I get a lot of customers, our way. Technically, what you could call as competitors, actually sending work our way as well, because it's the community. The community is it's a very magical place, honestly, because if it was somewhere else, I don't think this could happen. And I believe having that as core part of your business or anything that you do is going to always help and give back. At any point in time you can do that, it'll be always good. Having a great team around you, no matter if it's just 2 people or 200 people, um, surround yourself with people that can add value to you, and you can add value back as well. So having, trust me, this is the key piece. If you don't have people who are motivated or don't believe in the vision that you have, it's going to be a much, much tougher journey. And it's going to just add a lot more pressure on you. And the other piece is self-driven. Like, please do things that you love to do. You don't have to start a consulting business. You don't have to start a business also, right? But if that is something that's gonna, quench your thirst, have that in your sights and just do things that you love. It could probably take a little bit more time, but trust me, you will thank yourself. You will be much more relaxed, and you will not fail, because if you keep love, if you do what you're loving, you'll have so many people coming to you, and this is what you will live and breathe and dream. You will find a way to solve these problems. So definitely, keep yourself motivated. Also, this is a key slide for last year. It's basically, sometimes um, things change, things that are uncontrollable. So especially with COVID, we made a promise that we're not going to lay off anybody during COVID, no matter what. So Vinay and myself and a couple of other directors and CEOs, CXOs, we skipped our salaries so that we could pay back to the team and keep the full strength instead of letting go. Trust me, there were a lot of people who are being let go from across the industry around us, and we wanted to make sure that the team that we've built, it's not transactional, right? It's we can take a cut, that's fine, but we wanted to make sure that we never let anybody go because of COVID. That was one of our priorities, and it really, really helped, because right after COVID, when business started coming in, and even actually during COVID was actually the best year of Dazeworks in terms of revenue, because we had the team to take on projects that other people did not have, right? So the priorities for us always were team members first, and that's always made sure that we had that as part of our core, and that has always helped us scale. So make sure that you have your priorities in sight as well. Yeah, so this is again coming back to learning things the hard way. You will make mistakes, trust me. I probably made 10 mistakes today, easily, but don't let it weigh you down. It's part of the job. You will make mistakes, but if you let yourself get weighed down by that, that's going to affect the entire team. So if your vision gets impaired, if your morale gets down, trust me, that will flow down to the culture of the company. And it's going to affect the other leaders, the other team members, and your customers, as well as your partners. So you will make mistakes, that's okay. But if you come back and solve it, that's going to be the path that everybody's going to see inspiration in, right? So these are also a couple of things that I think are very important in terms of making sure that the trust and the accountability is also key from the team's perspective and customers' perspective. And one thing that I want to leave you guys with. I know I'm 15 minutes over the time, but uh, the runway ahead of you is much, much longer than the one that's behind you. So there's always great opportunities ahead of you. It's if you're ready to take flight, you will see that you can achieve great heights together, right? So with that, I want to thank you guys for the time, the opportunity, especially during this COVID time with people managing home and office and everything together intensified. Thank you for sitting through, and would love to answer questions. And you can always connect to me with Twitter and emails, and happily I'll share these slides as well. But hopefully added a little bit more value than when we started today for you today.
That was so wonderful, Shiv. There are a lot of insights and so much to learn. And as Paula mentioned in the chat, it's very easy to know all the information about the process, but uh, learning from the experience is very crucial. This information on all the experiences that you shared and about the challenges as well, it will be very valuable.
Wonderful. Absolutely.
And Shiv, there are a few questions about how to get started if somebody wants to go become a Salesforce App Exchange
Sure.
partner, or they're just beginning. Can you just
Mhm.
touch upon that?
Absolutely. So there are a couple of ways you can start your consulting business, or even the business of the Salesforce ecosystem. As mentioned, like it's one is the ISV part. Like if you have an idea and you want to get started, the first thing that I would say is hash out what you want to achieve. Do a lot of research on the competition. Then the next phase is figuring out the build. If you're a technical person and you can build, or you have partners that can build with you, that's the best aspect, because you will be able to change much faster and control costs. And then you can sign in with Salesforce. When you go to Salesforce to sign up for ISV partnership, you will need to have a business plan. You will need to have done research on your competition. And as you probably would know, if it's a paid app, you will be sharing some revenue. I think generally it's around 25% of the revenue with Salesforce for putting you up on App Exchange. The consulting piece is very similar. I would say you can start off just being yourself. Go through your network. People that you worked with, customers that you worked with in the past, and reach out to see if they have work. Right. That's the first piece. Defining if you have opportunities to work with, or you might be starting out as freelancer. I personally don't believe in the freelancing side because I did that initially, but if you have a full-time job, focus on that, because ultimately when your freelancing job and your full-time job has problems on the other side, people tend to generally go to the one that's paying your bills every day. That's probably your full-time job. So that tussle will be tough. So I would probably say when you're ready, make sure that you have enough money to cover, let's say 3 months or 6 months, or you've struck a deal. That's going to be the easiest piece for you to start your consulting business. You don't have to have a big team, just have to be you. Work with partners if need be, till you get the stability to hire more. And again, from a registered consulting partner with Salesforce, it's the same deal. We did not do the registered consulting partner with Salesforce till we were in year 3. And that was a very deliberate decision, because when a new partner signs up, Salesforce is going to give you a lot of leads, and you might have to be on the ground, going to meetings for a lot of the consulting side or the greenfield implementations, where you have to sit with Salesforce to sell the licenses and your implementation services. I found that that's going to be too much effort, and it's probably going to spread us thin till we got to a stable point. And that's why in year 3, at the end of year 3, we signed up as a partner with Salesforce, and we were ready. We knew what the ground effort needs to be. Within a year, we got to platinum very quickly. We actually were silver, skipped gold, and immediately became platinum because we had that ready. So again, it's great to have the registered partner logo. You can definitely have that, but if you look at scaling up the partnership, the first shot when you get and when you're ready for that, that's going to make a huge impact rather than no activity for 1 year and then going back to Salesforce. You got to rebuild all that relationship. So take affordable steps. That's the key piece of it. For starting a business, you don't have to have a C corp or an S corp. Start small, and do things that are affordable to you. So predict your cash flow, have a margin, make sure that you only take those affordable steps. Otherwise, it goes back to the same thing where you end up with an unsustainable model. So hiring as well, it's very exciting to hire and grow and say, hey, we have 10 people, 20, 100, 25, 2,500 people, whatever it is. But you are now, the first time you hire one person, you are now responsible for their livelihood as well, their career as well. So take that with a lot of gravity to that situation. So build to that, and when you're ready to hire, you will, and you scale. So from an opportunity perspective, honestly, for us, as I said, community was the big piece that a lot of people stepped in and initially gave me a lot of business. We did good with that. The word of mouth spread. Of course, we did a website and digital assets and all the shebang. But if you do good work, you will get recognized very quickly. And don't be shy about asking for business as well. Just make that call, ask for the business. You will get it. If you don't get it, nothing changes, right? It was as good as if you didn't call them. So call them and ask for the business. You will get it. Because if you truly believe you can make a difference, and if you have that conviction, you can get that business. And
that's a
just
great
to look,
suggestion, Shiv.
sure,
Sorry,
one more thing. Since even though the title mentioned global, I did not specifically cover that topic, but I would love to address that. For me, initially, again, we started out in India. The first office that we set up after India was in the US. I started a Delaware company. And then the next global location was Sri Lanka. The reason why we did this is not for, oh, we're a global company brand, but it's more of acquiring talent. For me, getting the best minds in Salesforce was very important. So I very quickly found out that all the best minds that you wanted part of your team was not in just one location. So we, instead of approaching it from a monolithic office space kind of perspective, we did small offices where people could gather. The team was much more closer together, which kept that startup and connected vibe. And you guys know, like, it's very cheap to get office space nowadays, especially nowadays. But it was important to bring the team together. Again, identify before you invest. Identify if you have the team, they will stay with you, and you've got the right mix, and then start the location. Trust me, once you start doing a little bit of research on setting up the actual entity, it's pretty fast. It's pretty straightforward. You're not going to face a lot of issues with that. Scaling the global company, at least from my perspective, was core from a talent perspective rather than a business perspective. But then the business started coming in because we were local. But if you just start a sales office for the sake of it, I don't believe that's going to help, because most of the time when you're local, people will want you to come into the office, especially technical folks, and sit with them and solve the problem together. And that's why they're hiring local, right? So hiring talent first in the location was one of the key things that I did that really helped us be global truly and scale globally, and not just have an office space listed on the website.
That's wonderful, Shiv. Great point to make a note. And I have other question. So you may need to stay on top of many things. So what are your favorite productivity tools that you use to help you stay focused and keep you on track?
Yeah, so I'm probably not the best person for this because I kind of over engineer things. I try to use every tool out there, honestly, because I feel like there's so much to offer. But this might sound cheesy. The best tool that I use is Salesforce because if I want to make a change on the tool, I know I can do it myself very quickly. So we try to use Salesforce as much as possible. But I'll give you a couple of cool tools that I use that I love. Of course, I use Slack. The company, we use all the normal stuff like Gmail, Zoom. That's great. But one of the cool things that I recently came across is a tool called Fireflies Ai. What it does is it joins all of your calls, right? Records the audio and also transcribes the audio. And it can also tag certain keywords. That is amazing for me because I'd probably get on like 7 to 8 calls a day, and it's very easy to lose track. And even though you might have audio recording, like Zoom does audio recording and transcribing as well, but I found that Fireflies, it's free, by the way, and there is a paid version that's $10 a month, which is great. I think it helps me because I can just search saying, oh, pricing or action item, and it just gets me those pieces of conversation on that call, and I can listen back to the audio or just look at the text of what was discussed. That's a great tool that I use. For proposals, I use Proposify because it makes sending proposals so much more easier. Earlier, we were just using Word and Excel and all that kind of stuff, but Proposify is, again, fairly cheap and so much more flexible. So I use that to send out proposals, especially within the team, because approvals, signatures, and the great thing is I know when a customer opens the proposal, what section they looked at the most. They can actually chat from within the proposal to my mobile phone, an app on my mobile phone. So it's great. So I use that because it makes it so much more easier and I don't have to go through emails, which I hate. But yeah, that's another thing. Apart from that, like I use I'm very curious about metrics, so that's what I try to do as much as possible. Like email, I use Polymail on Mac and iPhone, so I know when people open my email, I can schedule it. It's all great. I think Gmail's doing really well too nowadays. But yeah, this could be a whole session on its own. I use a ton of tools. I think within the company we use somewhere close to 110 different apps. Um, you know, across
Wow.
the board. Not everybody, but we have those many apps because I just want to make it easier. People can just focus on their day to day, make technology do the heavy lifting, so people can do the creative aspects. I'm sure everybody wants to do the same thing. Yeah, so I try to automate as much as possible. Definitely, some of my team members would say I'm crazy, but as long as it's helping everybody, or it's helping you to get an oversight on some of the things that are happening, I think that's best. Yeah.
That's great to know, Shiv. I have one other question.
Sure.
It's from Tanmay. How do we do better prospecting for getting more clients and partners from onshore markets on board with us?
Sure. So if I understand the question, is the question more of how do you evaluate an offshore partner, or how do you gain more leads onshore?
Um, yeah, Tanmay, feel free to unmute yourself and you can give more details to it.
Hi, yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been an amazing session, and I'm a new uh, person in the field of Salesforce and just learning the business. I'm into sales and marketing and working for a Seattle-based company. Uh,
Mhm.
I would like to understand how we can do better prospecting in terms of getting more clients on board with us who are
Mm,
looking for Salesforce solutions. And
sure.
so we also have around 90 plus Salesforce developers here, but and I'm quite new to the system. I'm just looking to understand how to
Sure.
build better, how to go for a better prospecting, and
Sure.
how we can get more partners who can outsource their projects to us, something like that.
Understood. So I can give you probably my perspective on the first answer, which is um, there are some standard stuff they can do, which is we get ourselves listed on Clutch and G2 Crowd. App Exchange is a great place. So the digital side of it, we do have a marketing team that has goals on, making the digital assets more exciting. Of course, social media and the other digital assets that you want to focus on, you will have to do traditional marketing on that. But the core piece that I've seen our business grow with is actually reinvesting with your existing customers. So if you can look at the relationship that you with the existing customers, grow that, and see if you can have more opportunities to scale within the new customers. Net new logos are a lot more tougher to get, and there's a lot more competition. I do believe growing your existing customer base across their departments is easier compared to net new. But if you look at net new, there are a couple of channels that you want to do. One is definitely the Salesforce partner program that has helped us get a lot of logos because you will be running with the sales team of Salesforce, and of course one or two sales team other as well. It'd be great to have that channel with you to basically go for greenfield implementations. But there are other channels as well. Of course, normal sales, traditional, calling, researching would be great. But from a perspective of partnership, from a existing, let's say, onshore company looking to partner, I might not have the best answer for you because most of it has been inbound for us, where it is word of mouth, where people have heard about Dazeworks and what we've done, the kind of work that we've done has been the reason of why people reach out to us. But you could look at, again, if you want to look at the Salesforce App Exchange partners list, you could do a little bit more of an outbound approach. And I think instead of talking about the transaction, look at seeing if you have a good fit. But usually the need is what defines it. So sometimes most partners, if they are looking for outsourcing partners, they generally Google or ask a friend in the ecosystem that might be able to refer. That's usually how we've gotten our partnership outsourcings from other different countries to us. Hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
No worries.
And thanks, Shiv, and also thank you for extending the session and helping us with the answers. I know it's too late for you. If you're okay, I have one last question for the day.
Sure.
What are areas of strong demands or trends that you see over and over? Maybe the architecture or the dev, which clouds?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll answer that in a different way as well. So I'll give you the experience when we spoke with Salesforce for the partnership, like the consulting partnership. One of the key things they ask you to specialize is either in the industry, like you have to give a business plan to say how you're going to target specific industries. And if you are specialized in products of Salesforce, that is also going to be key. I think that is a very valid model. So if you look at industry trends, today we get a lot of projects, especially from CPQ, FSL, and generally Service Cloud related. But I would say around 40% of our business actually is companies trying to build apps on the App Exchange. So there are a lot of companies that have either wanting to build, connectors or build the entire app on App Exchange via ISV or via the OEM model. So I would say those are, at least from my perspective, those are key trends right now. And I think FSL CPQ has been taking off like crazy. So definitely look at some of that. But in a year or two, I think what you will see a lot more, and what we're predicting as well, is a more focus on the industry clouds, especially with the recent acquisition of Velocity. Salesforce is putting a lot of marketing prowess behind that. So I'm trusting that there's going to be a lot more interest being generated there. Even though we've not done a lot of Commerce Cloud implementation, we do have a team for it. I think it's more the EBU side, which is in Salesforce terminology, at least in the APAC, it's split into ESMB, which is emerging business, which is mid-market, GB, which is the growth market or greater business, and then you have EBU, which is the enterprise business unit. So that's how it's split. So the Commerce Cloud and some of the larger implementation usually goes into that side of things. I would say if you're starting out, I know there are companies, let's say in Bozeman, Montana, who just do CPQ, right? And they're great at it. So a lot of those deals usually come to you. And just to give you a lay of the land within if you're looking at more of the Salesforce partnership side, the way the AEs are set up are purely based on product specialties or geography specialty or a combination of both. So a Sales Cloud, or let's say if an FSL or a CPQ or Marketing Cloud part AE, they're not going to be selling other solutions apart from their specific focus. They're going to be looking at selling those licenses, even from a force.com or LEA license, what they call today. There are separate AEs whose numbers are tied to that. So if you are specializing in a product or a geography, you will get more face time with the AEs. That's going to help you build a better relationship, and they will keep coming back to you. So if you do everything, you're spreading yourself too thin, and you don't get the opportunities to actually build a bond of relationships. Most AEs have numbers that are in the millions for a quarter that they need to close, and especially in different sections. So if you focus on that, it's going to keep yourself a little bit more sane, and it's easy to grow with them, I think. So that's what I would say from an advice perspective.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Shiv.
Nice.
And we have so many positive feedback that is coming in.
Thank you. And I do know that a lot of people wanted to hear a lot more. It is a very vast topic. And I wanted to break it down as much as possible. But the technicalities of it, for sure, there's a lot more there's to discuss. Happily available to anybody who wants to talk more about it. And I'm reachable on Twitter, LinkedIn. Just connect with me. Happy to help in any way possible and give back to the community.
That's so nice of you, Shiv. I know you are a very busy person, and you willing to take some time out. I really value that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you for coming in, staying on for 30 minutes more than what was scheduled. I really appreciate that.
And I thank you for extending your time, Shiv. And thank you for a wonderful session today. And thank you everyone for joining. The session recording will be available on the YouTube channel soon. Stay tuned for the upcoming sessions as well. And I hope to see you again in the next session. Thank you very much, Shiv, and everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.